Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. My name's Doug Brown. I'm the vice chair and substituting for Bill O'Neill, who cannot be here, who's the chair. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock and have a roll call of members.
Christine O'Brien.
And Nick Bonapane.
No need for alternates this evening.
Nope.
We're at the bare minimum, but we're okay. Any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes.
Okay. Then can I have a motion for approval?
Make a motion, we approve Tuesday, June 17, 2025 agenda.
A second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The agenda's approved. The first case, P 2503, that's been continued until August. So again, we'll move then to case P 2515.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I just want to confirm August 19th. I just want to
August
confirm the day.
19th, 2025.
Yes.
Yeah, correct. So we'll move to case P 2515, which is the application for a contractor's yard for Lisa Nicastro and John Goodrich. And got the case before us. Parties want to come forward. So the first thing we need to do is determine if the application is complete.
I'll make a motion, we approve P 25-15, the application is complete.
Any second for that?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, so the application is considered complete. There are some waivers that are requested for wetlands. It's clear to me that there were any wetlands on the property.
I believe that's the request, is to not show the
Yeah,
wetlands.
correct.
Yep. Looks like the reasoning was because no land disturbance was taking place for the proposed application.
Do you want to have any issue with that?
No, I'll make a motion to grant the waiver.
Roger, you,
Well, I mean, I don't see anything that shows where they're working or what.
Well, my understanding is there's no work being done at the property. They're just trying to put in the contractor yard. There's no actual work taking place though.
so there is no,
Materials going.
not based on my understanding, I don't think that is the case.
It was just their own stockpile of what they had there.
And disturbance, wouldn't it?
Do one of you guys want to come up here? John or? You can, go ahead.
Yeah, please,
Excuse me,
introduce
excuse me.
yourself.
Randy, can you, in the back, can you turn that microphone on? There's a little switch
In the back.
in the back of that. I'm sorry, I didn't turn that on. And then turn the button on,
and
and
hit the
it's
button,
green,
the big button.
all right on the front.
Now you're on.
Perfect.
Thank you. Sure.
No, you're on red, just hit the green, big button. There you go.
Okay. My name is Randy Tatron, a licensed land surveyor with Norway Plains Associates. I'm here to assist the applicant with their minor site review application tonight. We prepared the application in conjunction with the applicant's direction. And because it doesn't quite fit the standard minor site review application, because we're not proposing any construction be done, normally we do that kind of thing, and we have to do a lot of the stuff that fits in the, the site review application checklist, better. in this case, what we've done is we've prepared a retracement survey that shows what exists on the property. It has existed for a while. We asked for a waiver to the wetlands because we're not proposing anything be built or be constructed. And not that there's an enormous amount of wetlands or anything on there. It's just that in the area that you can see by the plans, we're not proposing to build anything. So normally, the reason for delineating the wetlands is to see, to deal with that aspect. So that was the reason for the waiver. The rest of the information is shown, topography is shown, boundaries are shown. We provided the aerial because that was the best way to show the total site visually for everybody. We do have an existing boundary plan. We do have existing topographic plan. And I also have a plan of the state highway drainage system, just in case that came up tonight. So generally, I'll let you continue with the waiver, but my part in that is to answer any questions regarding what's depicted on the plans. If there's any questions as to business aspects or other things, the owners are here tonight and their attorney.
Before the application.
Yeah, the contract yard, I guess, has existed for quite some time. I'll let them speak to that, Roger, because I wasn't involved in that.
For the record, I'm Chris Bolt of Donahue Tucker Chandel up in Meredith. And I helped the owners through the ZBA process that started back in November of '21. If you may recall, there were a number of contractor yards that were in existence in the town, and there became a change of, shall we say, attitude towards them. My clients have been operating prior to 2018, at the very least, as the case went through both Superior Court and Supreme Court. So this is an after the fact based on that change, but we did get the ZBA approval in April of '22. I believe I've got that right, yes. And went through the abutter, Mr. Attorney Manzioni appealed, went through the Superior Court and Supreme Court route, and we were upheld throughout. So we're now, as a requirement of the ZBA, requiring to come back to you. And we would note that there were several conditions imposed by the ZBA that I believe Ms. MacArthur's report correctly lists. There were 3 basic ones. I believe I overheard you, Mr. Sample, asking about loads of materials. One of the restrictions was no full loads of materials could come in or out for the business. So that it's not one of those things where they have stockpiles for things to be picked up by customers, utilized, throughout that way in the normal
Basically,
situation.
the contract you got for parking the trucks.
Basically so. And there are piles that are debris that is left over from a job that John will bring in, just, store. It may be something that can be used in a later job, but it's not that full yard where you're getting every day, day in, day out, somebody's coming to you to pick up that load of gravel or that load of loam.
And there was a limit of 12 vehicles to be parked?
Correct. And at the time, the ZBA interpreted vehicles to include trailers, which was, I think, why the number went up a little bit during the process.
Got storage units there that I see on the right-hand side.
Probably ought to ask John that. Might have to ask John about that. My recollection is there are, on the right-hand side of the plan, there are 3 or 4 fingers that are trailers.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, maybe I should just interject quickly. So when we were asked to do the existing features plan for this, one of the things was to do the existing features plan and then show a line of demarcation between what they felt is being used commercially and what they felt is being used residentially. And that's what shows up on the plan. And those are the areas that I outlined. I know it's probably small and stuff, but I think it's about 2.5 acres by memory that's being used commercially, according to Goodrich. And the remaining 4.5 is the residential part. And you can see a dashed black line on that demarcation. And again, that was directed by the applicant.
And again, tell me, are there any wetlands on the property?
Again, we didn't do a delineation, so it doesn't appear to be. There is a drainage swale that runs down through the center of the property. That's depicted by that tree line that runs into the state drainage system, There was a concern by Gene Young about stormwater management that, and again, we didn't do any construction, we're not proposing any construction, so normally stormwater management is associated with that. I did take a walk up before, I did visit the site again, because when we did the work, it was last fall, early winter, so I visited the site again, pretty much the same. The only place I could see any indication of that was on the north, little spot on the north side of the driveway. During some of these rain events, there's a little silt running in there. I did do this plan, which kind of indicates that it kind of ends right there by the north side of the driveway, and then there's a vegetated ditch, that runs along the side of Route 11 that carries anything, doesn't get past, 10, 15 feet from the driveway, and that goes all the way down to a catch basin that runs across Route 11, because Route 11's pitched to that side because of the river. Runs across Route 11, then runs down another ditch for another couple 250 feet, before it outlets towards the river, and then that's still another couple 100 feet away from the river. So as far as detention and treatment, you can't get much better than, what the highway's already got.
So you're aware that there was a kind of a question raised by the Conservation
Yeah,
Commission?
Yes, we saw that.
Yeah,
We
Gene,
appreciate
we saw
Jesse's
what Gene said, and again, that's why I did this plan, so you could see how far away it was and what was in between the site and the river.
And one thing to remember, it's a paved driveway. The gravel doesn't go down all the way to the road. So you're up above onto the flat for the gravel to start. So it's not the,
Speaking of driveways, I noticed there was a driveway permit, but is that a commercial driveway permit?
it was followed up on, and that I realized when we received Jesse's report that the subsequent correspondence that we had at the time of the ZBA hearings from DOT had not been tendered as part of the application. So we made sure that you got that. They were saying no additional permit is needed because of the use that we're using. We're not, and that was dated March 29 of 22, which should be in your packet.
So it is a commercial permit.
So the original one was 96, and then this letter, the original one was for the common driveway, and there's a 50 by 50, 25 by 50 on each side along the property line. Common driveway that was,
Date on that one?
that was,
96, I believe.
yeah, that was created in 96, I believe.
96,
Correct me if I'm wrong.
So that
on
sounds
it.
like the,
Excuse me?
like the residential driveway.
Right. And so the letter that Chris is referencing, and again, we didn't get involved in applying for a permit or anything like that because it was existing, is March 29th, 22. And it says that it's a letter from the state that I think is in your packet that says that your driveway is permitted per the plans. And it says if you change any use from here on, change any use, then you have to come back to us. So
So did you
So
go
it's-
back?
no, No, because it was already existing.
It was already in existence when that conversation and inspection occurred. And I believe the change of use and
In
Lisa, correct?
96?
No, 22. The second one that you have correspondence for is saying in essence, because they're not having customers come in, this is in essence, under your regulations also and under DOT, equivalent of a home business. They're not having customers come in. And that, if they change the use then, as some contractor yards do, have customers come in to pick up that load of gravel or pick up those plants or whatever. This becomes a different use. This is now them coming in and out of their driveway with their own equipment. And remember, one of the ZBA additions was the equipment had to be theirs or leased by them. It couldn't be used as a yard to store some other contractor's equipment. So it was viewed as their place.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, are you guys still on the discussion of the waivers?
No, we're not.
I just want to make sure
Yeah.
it doesn't, you guys don't get too far into the weeds.
Into the weeds, yeah.
Sure.
So let's close out on the waivers first.
Okay, just
Okay.
checking.
So the only one was the wetland, right?
Correct. So we have a motion that,
Motion that we accept the waiver
I'll second
for
it.
the wetland.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, waivers pass. Okay, so coming back to the plan review, I didn't see for the driveway permit, you say there was a 2002 permit,
22,
22?
March of 22, that
It's a letter.
They're referencing this letter.
Oh, I didn't,
So there's
okay.
the original driveway permit and then
Yeah.
the letter. I had
I
questions.
didn't see this letter, actually.
I submitted it after the application fairly recently, through to Jesse.
So they're in compliance as long as there is not traffic in and out, and it's
Correct.
solely for their use.
Correct.
Okay.
There's no customers coming in.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
So I had a question on that letter, that 2022
Please.
letter.
Yep,
I think I gave you my copy.
you did. Andrew's got it.
Okay. So my concern with that letter, I guess it's just semantics, but I feel like that letter is not specific enough as to what was discussed with DOT. If you read the letter,
Well, I was just
It-
gonna say, I'd have to agree. What this is saying is that this is the 96, they're agreeing with 96.
so I just feel like it's just not clear enough. But that's up to you guys to decide. That's my opinion.
Nick, have you seen the letter or not?
No, I was waiting until Ron goes done.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Christine, have you seen?
That's the only part.
Need another copy?
Yeah.
My copy.
And again, why did you go back for the?
As part of the ZBA process.
Part of the ZBA process.
So basically, this says, in 1996, you got a driveway permit, and this says if you don't do any changes, then you don't need to do anything. But there has been a change.
Roger, can you?
Can I grab, I'm gonna make some copies.
That's the only thing I haven't seen yet.
I'm happy to respond, but let's wait for her to
We
come
get
back.
the copies, it would be beneficial.
That's always the biggest issue is the DOT and the driveway permits, change of use and, we always got to be certain that, they've actually been what you want is what you applied for.
Again, we'll answer when she gets back in.
Is there gonna be any kind of maintenance on the vehicles being done there?
No.
No?
And again, that was one of the representations to the ZBA.
Thanks, Jess. I think I'm reading it the same way you guys are.
I can say that the DOT engineer came out to the site, walked it with Ms. Nicastro before this letter's written. So he knows what's there. If you wish to have a confirmatory from DOT, have that be a condition of approval is fine. I don't think that's going to be an issue, getting something from DOT to say it's,
I think we probably need to have that.
okay. Happy to have that as a condition.
I guess in the seminal, it says in here, if there is to be a change in the use of your property, wish to make improvements in the driveway with your easement area, then NHDOT will require a driveway permit. So,
Right.
yeah, so
Like I say, my understanding is, and I have not talked with the engineer, but he came out to the site during that ZBA process. The contractor yard is there in operation, seeing what's there. And it's my understanding from my client, the issue was if you change to having customers come in, so that just like somebody's coming into the hardware store at the Circle, coming in and out all the time, that needs to make sure that the driveway is the right way. If it's you coming in and out with, your personal vehicle or your, personal dump truck for the business, that's not an issue in their eyes.
okay.
But we can get confirmation.
Any other questions about the driveway permit? What about other comments that were in the plan review? What about dust and erosion control? Again, it's,
Yeah, well, I'll let the applicant speak to that, but as the surveyor, we didn't show any, we didn't put any notes on the plan to that effect, sir. And, I mean, because we weren't constructing anything and it was already existing, I mean, if it's the board's purview, we can certainly, we have standard notes, that can go on there. We didn't in this case because we were going to talk about it at this meeting. Does that make sense? Yeah.
As for the dust, it is one of those things where it's not a site where you're coming in and out of constantly.
it's like traffic.
Yeah, so they are fairly removed from abutters.
Jesse, did you have any other comments?
What was that, Nick?
No, I asked if Jesse had any other comment.
The only comments that I had would be listed on page 3
Mhm.
under other comments.
Yeah.
So those are just, some of them have been answered through
Yep.
the ZBA approval, but I didn't see it noted in with the planning board submission, so I just wanted to make sure that these items were kind of covered.
Sure.
Mhm.
For the site plan.
I think you're looking at the number of employees.
Yep.
We've talked about dust and erosion. There is no maintenance of the vehicles on site. The parking areas are basically what's shown in that aerial, but is it, this truck is going to be in this slot at all times? I don't think that's the way they operate. Things can move around within this segment, but you're not looking again at the standard parking issue of, okay, where are my customers going to park? Where are my employees going to park? Doesn't have it.
So I don't think as much the issue is the vehicles. I think it's the stock buy, saying bringing home something for another day. I mean, how many of these,
Yeah.
something for another days? Is there an area for that?
That, again, is shown in this aerial.
Is that in the ZBA thing?
The ZBA condition was, let me get the exact language. Have it in my materials. No full loads in or out. So it was the full load where you've got the whole dump truck going, getting it out, or picking up a loader full and dumping it in the dump truck. This was viewed as partial loads. If he has some tailings at the end of a job, or if he needs, a yard or so of something to finish a job going out, those were viewed as okay by the ZBA. But it's that full load concept of, having the large noise amount is
So
my,
you could have 3,000 yards as long as you didn't bring it home in a full load? Not likely, but I mean.
yeah, not likely, but I mean,
Sounds like what you're saying.
Because that is a really big parking area. You can fit a lot.
Right.
There.
but again, it's for moving around. If you're the only one, you got to back something out to put something in, to get it on a trailer, to move something around.
So are there any employees?
I guess the only other question was around screening it for the property and the like. Any plans in that?
The screening was an element in the ZBA.
ZBA.
And that was viewed as sufficient because we're about 300 feet to the back property line, to Attorney Manzioni's property. It's heavily wooded once you, on the whatever side that is, southeast side. You don't see this from the road, from the highway. And that was viewed as sufficient by ZBA, but that was an element of the special exception that we did receive.
Questions?
Question about, septic.
Oh,
That's one-
The septic is the house septic. There is no bathroom in the barn that's on the residential side, and there's none intended. So,
Yeah, it does show up on the plan. We showed the well and the septic on the residential side.
right,
Yeah,
but nothing in this contractor yard.
Did you guys discuss that?
Declaration.
Did the ZBA give you any guidelines as to?
No.
I think it's more our purview.
It is. What are the intended hours of operation?
Can I just hold you for 1 second? Can we get him a microphone, or if he can come over to the table? Thank you.
Okay, so let's just simplify,
If
because you
you
guys haven't.
share your name too.
Yeah, John Goodrich, how you guys doing? We're pretty much just parking there is what it amounts to. There are some piles of material. Roger, you know the dirt business. Sometimes you bring home a couple yards here, a couple yards there. They do add up over time. You know, if I see a penny on the floor, I'm gonna pick it up and bring it home, you know, kind of thing. So, there's, as far as hours of operation, we leave in the morning, we work all day, and we come home and park. You know, we do other stuff there in our yard and, you know, like anybody else, but there is no operation there. Yeah.
Lisa Nicastro. So the hours of operation vary. You know, if he's working right in Alton, he's gonna leave the driveway at 7:30. If he's working in Tuftonboro, he's gonna leave the driveway at 6:30. He comes home, I mean, some nights it's 6, sometimes it's 7. It depends on it. It's a weather-based operation. So if it's not raining, he's gonna get the most out of the day, come home when he's done. You know, if he's working over in Maine, he might leave at 6 o'clock, but he's gone all day, comes home between 5 and 7, you know.
What about the weekends?
I think you've worked one Saturday since January.
When it stops raining, let me know. So that's rain.
Honestly, on the weekends, we have a family, you know, we go camping, we try to do family stuff, boating, sports, kids stuff. So really the weekends, we really try to do the family stuff.
But
Well,
for-
there again, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, no, go ahead, Rod.
But there again, I don't think it's, you know, the leaving at 6 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning. I think it's more what happens there on the site. That's what.
Yeah,
that's what
so-
anybody would be concerned about.
Yeah, and to clarify, we're gone most of all days working somewhere else. We're not processing material there. We're not selling for material. People are not coming there to buy material. What is there is pretty much just a parking area.
What happens is the truck starts and you leave.
With some tailings of stuff. It's really simple. I mean, super simple. It's a basic area to park. I mean, we do our maintenance, you know, TMS Diesel does our maintenance, all things diesel. You know, my father has a shop on 16 in Ossipee. He's a state inspection. You know, Donovan Spring, we have receipts. They do all that. So that it's pretty much starting it, going to work, making a living and coming home. It's just a parking area.
So with for the record, like 6 to 8 PM, Monday through Saturday, cover it all?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
You know, and I think all that is within the noise ordinance as well. You know, as far as starting a vehicle to go to work.
Yeah, but what it more pertains to is emptying that half a load, you know what I mean, at 9 o'clock at night. That's what it,
Yeah, no.
Right, well, yeah, we're not.
and I know you have kids too, so you get, you know, reasonable noise stuff, but we just gotta cover all bases, that's it.
Right.
We gotta.
Yeah,
So you'd be okay with those, a Monday through Saturday? What did we say? What did
I
you say?
said from 6 to 8 PM.
From 6 to 8.
yeah, that's reasonable. Yeah.
Are there hours on the other contractor yards?
Yeah, I was just asking.
So I'm just wondering, I mean,
I don't think my recollection.
The other contractor yards actually have almost no stipulations. No restrictions at all.
Restrictions on vehicles, weight, we have restriction now on the block,
And all the other ones literally have nothing.
just to be fair.
Yeah. There's no need for signs, anything such as that.
We're not advertising. We just want to park there and be left alone.
Any other questions? Board? No?
I think I'll remind Jesse, one of her comments was questioning lighting.
I figured there was gonna be none.
And our understanding of there is none.
There is
So
none.
for the record,
For the record.
you don't have customers, you don't have lighting, you don't have employees, you have no maintenance.
I think the only issue is just that driveway.
We can put that in.
We
with
can
the
put that as a
conditions.
condition.
Yeah.
Yep.
We can get that for you.
Okay, I guess we have to open it for public hearing.
Thank you, gentlemen and lady.
Thank you. Anyone from the public here to comment? One at a time. Oh, please, if you're together, yes.
I didn't know whether you wanted to do in favor or opposed or whatever, but for the record, I'm Paul Monzioni, and I'm speaking in opposition to the approval of this application. Just a comment on a recent comment that was made by the applicant in terms of fairness, other contractors' yards and so forth. I sat on the ZBA. I'm an alternate member now. I've been doing it probably 18 years or more. Contractors' yards were not allowed at all in the rural residential area when Mr. Goodrich was operating one. And he's a good neighbor. I want to be a good neighbor. I'm not here to be difficult. I'm not here to be a bad neighbor. I like John very much. I wish we could talk. His lawyer has prevented me from talking to him as a neighbor would, because I'm a lawyer. And I asked him, I said, can you facilitate a conversation so like neighbors, John and I can talk? And he said, no, you can't talk to my client. So everybody spent a fortune because we couldn't talk as neighbors. It had to be the lawyers getting paid instead of trying to resolve this. So that was unfortunate. But to give you a little background, I'm not here to be difficult. I believe John should make a living. He's got a business. I'd like to support that. I'm not here to be difficult. The problem is this, and I don't mean to insult his trucks, but the problem is this. If you were living in a house and the lot next door goes up for sale and someone's going to build a home, the first part of that construction is the worst part, the site work. Because when you look out your window every day, you see big dirt piles and excavators and dump trucks, and whether they're dumping a full load or a partial load, you get the beep, beep, beep of the backup, you get the slam of the tailgate, and you're looking at all these mounds of dirt until they finally get hauled away. And during that phase, when you're looking out your window and that's what you're seeing, you're hoping, when is this going to be passed? And eventually the foundation gets poured and a house gets built, and all of a sudden it's a beautiful site, and it probably enhances the value of your property. But when you look out the window every day and it's a perpetual site work where all there is excavators, trailers, dump trucks, and he specifically represented at the ZBA that he would not haul materials on or off that property. I remember Paul LaRochelle asking him that question specifically. The ZBA members were very concerned about that. He represented material would not be hauled on or off the property because that's what causes the noise and the activity. I can tell you that those piles on his property have changed constantly. Right now, they're probably 6, 8 feet taller than the dump truck. I have photographs. I look out when the foliage is gone in the winter, 6 months of the year. Neighbors and friends come to my house and they look over and they go, what the hell's going on down there? And I go, oh, that's John and his dump trucks and his excavators and his dirt piles. Okay, I've been there since 1987. I've put my blood, sweat, and tears into that property. I maintain my property. I'm trying to preserve my property value. When guests come over my house and they look at the foliage and they see that, it looks like you're living next to a perpetual construction site. So the only reason I describe that now is because I think it's important that you appreciate why I'm here. I'm not here to disturb John or prevent a guy from making a living. But I also have an investment for 37 years in my property that is being adversely affected by virtue of living next to a construction site every day. Now, the reason the appeal of the zoning thing is because I stood up at the hearing and I withdrew my objection because I wanted to be a good neighbor. And John said, All I'm going to do is park my vehicles. And I stood up and I said, that's all you're going to do? And he said, yes. And I said, well, I'll withdraw my objection. But I wanted and hoped that then the ZBA, they closed the public input, the ZBA would then allocate or require screening. Let's put up a buffer. At one point, John was talking about creating a berm. We'll put in some trees, something the deer won't eat. And just so you look out and you see trees instead of dump trucks and dirt piles and excavators, and you don't hear them backing up constantly or beeping and slamming tailgates. I haven't heard it as much as I did in the very beginning, I will say that. I think John's been considerate of that. But you as a planning board have the right, and if you look at the, you guys may look at from time to time, the Alton Site Plan Review Regulations, okay? Under section 518, screening, you have the right to, and the ability to mitigate these problems so that the contractor's yard may exist and we can live harmoniously in a reasonable way. And you have the right to require appropriate screening/buffers as determined by the planning board are to be installed and maintained to provide privacy and noise reduction to residential properties abutting non-residential uses. And then it goes on to describe appropriate screening/buffers may include, but are not limited to, earth berms, solid private fencing, landscaping, setbacks, etc. So if you decide to approve this application, you have the ability, and I would strongly urge and request that these mitigating requirements be part of any approval. There has to be a berm and some trees so that we're not living next to a perpetual construction site. I have the right to be there too. So does John. But John has not complied with the law from day one, And you know, I've put in all these years. I've been on the zoning amendment committee, the master plan committee, the ZBA, because I feel it's important that if the town is going to develop properly, everybody should be required to do it in accordance with our laws and our zoning. John didn't do that. When he found out he needed to, he came and brought an application with the ZBA for a special exception. By the way, it wasn't permitted at all when he was doing it. And the change that Chris Bolt is talking about wasn't like, oh, it was permitted and then they imposed something. It wasn't permitted at all when he was doing it. And then the change was, it is permitted, but by special exception. So about 6, 7, 8 years after he'd been operating without any town approval and using a use that was not permitted at all in the rural residential zone, he finally went to the ZBA, which had just allowed, it was a brand new zoning ordinance that said, we're going to allow contractors' yards. The ones that I sat on, some guy had 8 acres of land north of here, totally surrounded by trees, a storage building in the middle. He had a bobcat and some mulch piles. So when they say, oh, it's not fair, the other ones haven't had restrictions, that's because of what they were. There's nothing like this. The only other one is on Main Street, which just got turned down by the ZBA because that was all trucks and excavators right on Main Street. Too much equipment. That's all you could see. That got turned down. So if we want to talk about other ones that were approved, you have to look at the specifics to see what's fair. But here's the big issue, and I submitted a brief on this issue. We brought it to the planning office this morning. I just got notice of this certified mail. I guess it's timely. I'm not complaining about that. But I didn't have a heck of a lot of time to put together an opposition legally, so that's why you guys just got this this morning, if you've even had a chance to look at it. And here's the thing. John has not complied with zoning, and he has not complied with zoning even up to today. And the reason is because John got his decision on April 7th, 2022, which is not disputed. that decision says, by virtue of the zoning ordinance and the state statute, that a special exception is only good for 2 years. Especially.
No. Nope.
And if, I don't know whether Mr. Volk has this, but I would like to share, if I may, you give him a copy, a full copy of this. This is a very well briefed opposition to this application on the law. I think you each have a copy of it. And what I want to point out is that every special exception that is granted in Alton, in accordance with Town Zoning Ordinance Section 520E and RSA 677:9, both of those, 674:33 and 520E of the zoning ordinance, both of those say that a special exception is only valid for 2 years. It's only valid, after 2 years, it's expired. And in order for the applicants in this case to have approval from this board, they need a special exception. That's why they had to go get it the first time, okay? After he got it, he had the ability at that point to act on it. And the very first thing that he would have had to do to act on it, just like if I wanted to put an ice cream stand downtown or anything else, and you have to get permission if it wasn't permitted in zoning, the very next thing you have to do is go to the planning board and get approval. That was April 7th, 2022. Here we are in 25 in June, and he's just at the planning board now, because throughout this whole process, he has never complied with the zoning requirements or the statutory requirements to do what he's doing on that property.
However, it was caught up in litigation.
Exactly.
It was caught up in litigation.
Okay, so that's a very good point. And that's the next point, okay? RSA.
Based on what our, can I, if I may?
Please go.
Yeah,
Based on our legal counsel representation, it appears as though he is able to, this is May 13th, 2024, therefore expiring on May 13th, 2026 is the way that our legal counsel representation, that's how he depicts it as.
okay.
So unfortunately, in this matter, we have to go with what he says. I understand what you're saying. I do understand that.
Right.
But we have to go based on what he what he recommends to us. So what you're saying right now, we have to go with May 13th of 2026.
Okay, I mean, I understand that's what you're going to choose to do.
No, that is what we are advised to do.
That's our legal advice.
That is our legal
Okay.
advice. So
So-
that is what
And
we
your
are being
choice is to
advised.
follow that advice. That's all I'm
Absolutely,
saying. Okay,
absolutely.
Okay,
Why we
because-
have town council.
okay. Because, and I don't know whether, well, of course, town council didn't have this brief because I just wrote it after I got notified of this hearing. So it would be nice if I can submit this brief to town council and what we can do, because
It wouldn't change his opinion because he has reviewed this. This is his advice. And unfortunately for your situation, we have to take his advice for this.
okay.
I apologize, but
No.
we have to.
There's no need to apologize, and I appreciate that. I mean, I completely disagree with Steve, if that's who it was, or whoever town council was, because this is a very thoroughly researched and analyzed brief on that very issue. And the fact is that it says very specifically that the filing of an appeal shall not have the effect of suspending the decision of the zoning board of adjustment.
I do
Okay,
understand.
all
I do
right.
understand.
No, I'm
but-
just saying for the record.
Yeah,
So
that's,
that
and I
it's-
understand.
So, because one of the things that happened at the ZBA is when I withdrew my objection, I eased off making a record on the issues that needed to go up on appeal. And what the court found was I failed to preserve those issues because I didn't make a big enough deal out of them in my arguments in front. Because at that point, I just said, fine, I withdraw my objection. And I stopped being thorough about the points I was
Everything,
trying to make.
everything that you've stated tonight and everything you've submitted is gonna be recorded. It will all, you know, it will all be
Exactly, and it's
in the
part of the
history.
record.
Yeah.
Right.
So what our goal here tonight is to see what your objection is. What grounds do you have to object to it right now?
Right, and that's fine. So what I want to do is, just to make clear, I want to obviously preserve my objection that because this wasn't done within 2 years of the
Yep, that is no-
ZBA's
yeah,
approval,
I understand.
that he has no special exception, and therefore the board cannot approve this application. That's my first position. Beyond that, it goes back to what I was addressing initially, because I wanted to respond to what the applicant was saying about the operation. I would request that if the board is going to approve this application, that, and in light of the fact that the board is in a position right now to impose conditions that mitigate this, I think the 1996 letter from DOT saying that's a commercial, I mean, that's a residential driveway, I don't see that the DOT has been given sufficient information to show that there are big trucks and trailers going up and down that steep.
That's gonna be a condition, though. We're gonna make sure that's a condition.
That's a condition of the DOT, so I'm joining in on
Yeah,
that,
that-
and I'm
yeah.
requesting that. And the other thing that I'm requesting is that there be a specific location of the area where the vehicles are going to be parked, and that there be screening for that area. And that the hauling of material on and off, as was represented at the ZBA, should also be restricted. One of the things that will mitigate those big piles will be the screening. So of all things, I would say if there's screening sufficient to deal with the visual.
Your
and-
objective is to make it more visually appealing from your side. That is what you would like tonight.
And,
Okay.
yes, and I think the way to do that is.
I understand what you mean with the berms and then with the trees.
Right.
We can discuss that farther, but is there
Okay.
anything else?
As long as the berms and trees, I'm saying sufficient
Yes.
sufficient height to block.
I understand what you're saying.
That did not come up in the ZBA discussion at all.
It came up at the ZBA discussion, but at that point, I had withdrawn my objection. Public input was closed, and I was not provided an opportunity to address some of the same issues that I'm addressing today. And so I brought them up in court, and the court said, you didn't preserve them on the record below. And so that's why I'm being a little persnickety about making sure.
I understand. You gotta get it
I'm
all on
dealing
the
with
record.
those.
I
Right.
understand.
I want to make sure that the record is covering it. So, no, I would say, and the only other thing was this 12 pieces of equipment, the ZBA application had 10. The ZBA application had 10. After they closed public input, one of the members said, how many do you want? And it became 12, which was after public input. It was not in the application. So my request, my wish list is that it should be reduced to what they asked for originally in the application, 10 pieces of equipment. The area where they'll be should be designated. It should be restricted to that. And then they should be appropriate screening and buffering from that, so that it doesn't have adverse impact on the surrounding residential properties as is permitted. And then I want to just preserve my rights on all the other arguments. So thank you for bearing with
Thank
me.
you.
It's an
problem.
emotional subject for me, so
Yeah, I understand.
I'm not usually this aggressive. So
That's okay.
thank
Okay.
you very much.
Thank you.
Another person, public input? Yeah. Please.
You gotta-
Get up and
You gotta
use
go
the
up to
mic.
microphone and just state your name, please.
My name is Mark DeRoy. I've been John's neighbor since 2021 when I moved to this town. And he's been a great neighbor. He does not work at 9, 10 o'clock at night. He's respectful for the hours that he does work. He runs large equipment. It's gonna make noise. My old house, they put 16 acres of a solar farm behind my house. Did they put up berms so I couldn't see it from my house? No. Yeah, I came from Binghamton, New Hampshire. If somebody decided they're gonna paint their house lime green beside you, you can't pick what your neighbor does. I mean, you drive down Main Street, there's a house right on Main Street where there's a side-by-side and all kinds of trash sitting in there. I don't think the neighbors like that either, but the guy does it. So you can't stop a man from making a living because his neighbor doesn't like the fact that he sees trailers and dump trucks in his yard. He needs to make a living. He's respectful in what he does. I mean, I live right across the street from him. If anybody's gonna hear noise, it's gonna be me, because it's downhill. I mean, I don't know what else he has to do. You can't tell your neighbor what he can and can't do, just because you don't like the looks of it. I mean, I grew up in a small town, and that's the way it was in my town. You know, you have rules that you have to follow. I mean, nobody wants somebody to have a trash pile in their backyard. I understand it, but he doesn't do that. He has what he needs to make a living, and that's all he has. He's very respectful in the hours that he works. He cleans his yard. I mean, when it snows, he makes sure that it's opened up wide enough for people. He helps the city out. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Just because somebody doesn't like the way that his dirt piles look.
Recognized, we appreciate it for the input.
Thank you very much.
Any other comment from public? We'll close public then.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
David Hayes, I'm in a butter. So the questions I have are more than the technical pieces here. It's just trying to understand what residential property means in this town. So I live on a street that has residential properties, and if the guy next door wants to buy the house and then put in a business, is that okay with you guys? I mean, I don't understand.
There are legal requirements to having a business on the property, yeah.
Okay, so it depends on what kind of business it is, right?
Correct.
I live on New Durham Road. I'm sure you're not gonna allow a gas station to be put next to me, right?
In all likelihood not.
All likelihood. But what is that? What happens to the value of my property when something like that happens? I've been a broker, I've been a real estate broker longer than anybody you know. And I've been buying and selling houses for 50 years in various towns. I've also been on the zoning board of appeals in Massachusetts. I understand the value of property. I understand what makes a property value go up and down. I think it was said in a prior meeting, well, all the value of the town goes up. Yes, but if you're next to something that causes a problem, it doesn't go up as much. So what I want to support Paul is, we need to have you guys do something to mitigate the problems with real estate value, which means putting up the trees or berms or whatever it is. And I would ask you to not just accept what somebody says. Get a bunch of real estate agents together and say, look, will this property go up or down? Will it be affected depending on how many trees or what you do there? Make sure you understand the proper mitigation so it doesn't affect the neighbors. It's really important. These two other companies you mentioned, excavating companies, are they in residential neighborhoods?
I'm not certain on what you're referring to.
Oh.
Neither.
What are the two? Well, you mentioned two other.
That was regional. What was the question?
Yeah, these other companies that were mentioned that in a similar business that John is, are they in?
One's way out through Hill Road.
Is it a residential? Oh, okay, but these generally aren't what, and I had to go through this in Dunstable where I was at ZBA. So somebody wanted, because you can have plenty of animals, I started to have a couple of pigs. And then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. So the town people came to me and said, you can't have all these pigs. Well, there's an ordinance that says you cannot have a piggery. Well, how many pigs in a piggery? Well, it took us a while to figure that out. But obviously, you grow into a situation where you then become a problem to the neighbors. You just have to be careful. You can put up the mitigations. You can put up these things that we mentioned. And that would help to solve. As long as you decide what to do is regulated by a group of real estate people who will tell you, yes, if you do these, then the properties will not diminish in value.
Point taken.
Okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public input? Okay, we'll close public. Any rebuttal?
Question, this is a field.
You
Assume
can
it
ask.
is.
For the record again, Chris Bolt, and let me start by apologizing for my outburst. I have dealt with Attorney Manzoni for too long, and I apologize for letting my cool evaporate. To counter the claims of Attorney Manzoni, he failed to mention in his reference to 674-33 the second part of the paragraph that he was referring to, that special exceptions have a 2-year lifespan. There is an exception when a matter has to come before the planning board. It has 6 more months from the time the planning board has approved. The cite that he gives you to 677:9 of his allegation that, let me get the language. 670, the filing of an appeal shall not stay any enforcement proceedings, is under the term restraining order. That means when a case has gone to court, if an abutter wants to stop the project from being able to go forward, they have to ask the court for a restraining order, because that is where it is. Because we had to come to the planning board, we knew that you would not take the matter up when the matter is going forward on appeal to the Superior Court and then to the Supreme Court. You don't have a solid special exception yet. It's still live, shall we say. Accordingly, this argument that the special exception has lapsed, how to say this politely, is good for fertilizing my garden.
Well, as of right now, that's, our legal representation advised us that that is a non-issue right now.
And I just wanted to make sure I'm on the record for saying his statutory authority is wrong. I would also argue that technically we have 6 months from the time you approve, so long as there is no appeal, to consider this final, if we were going forward with something new. But again, this is an after the fact. We know that. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have for anything that was raised. I can say a berm was considered by the ZBA and not required. It is something that, remember, we have 300 feet uphill from the area of this parking to the boundary of Attorney Manzoni's property, and his house is approximately 200 more back into the property. It is not something that he is looking out and seeing these great piles. He's having to strain, I think.
That 300 feet, though, that you keep talking about, it's 355, it looks like here. That's completely wide open, right?
Correct.
Uphill. But there's no trees, it's a field.
There are trees at the border.
Yeah, but it's a field, right? It's a field right now.
It's a field right now, yes.
And did this discussion come up about planting some trees as a buffer at that ZBA?
We offered a buffer at the boundary line, and that was rejected. So if you want a buffer, we're happy to put some more trees on our side of the boundary line.
So your client would be prepared to do that in a good show of good faith?
Yeah, we offered, we'll do it again. If you want it at the boundary line, I'm not sure.
Almost seems to me that maybe the boundary line wouldn't be the best place for it. I mean, if it's already 300 feet uphill, the best place for the screening would be down where the vehicles are.
You're going to still see over the trees to see
You're
them?
gonna see over the trees, but you're not gonna see the trucks. They're not
But
gonna
it
see
is-
the piles. That's the thing, they're looking at the construction yard. They don't wanna see it. If you put the trees up here, you'll be looking over the trees and seeing down in the yard. The whole idea is to screen the yard. And it's not just Paul, now we got Mr. Hayes, he's even closer than Paul is. So he needs to be screened.
Well, on the east side it's already treed. So the southeast side is heavily treed already, that boundary. That is adjacent to where the piles and the trailers are. What we're saying is, because of the elevation, if you put the trees here at that, where the rock wall was created, you're gonna still see over that. It's gonna be.
Can I?
Sure.
Lisa Nicastro again. I wanted to follow up on, we had talked about this. We had offered quite a few buffers that was turned down by the abutter at the ZBA, many buffers. And the reason why we did not want to put the trees down at the bottom as well is because we have two boys. They ride four-wheelers. They ride in the field. I have to see them. I can't not see my kids ride in the four-wheelers. The trees are going to prevent me, more for me not to see the field than for him. And then as far as like the piles that are there, you can see actually, you might have seen when you came up to the property today, one of the piles is actually, it's my son's four-wheeling pile. He goes up and down it, over the top of it. That's what they ride on it. They've got four-wheelers.
Well, we're just, at the end of the day, you know, nobody wants to see John not make any money, and obviously we
Yeah.
know that. But what we're trying to do right now is to come up with some sort of resolution that would allow you to continue doing what you're doing, but also satisfies everybody around you. It's not just one now, it's two.
We had offered trees up at the top, which we
I
can
understand.
still do.
Yeah.
And you'd still be amenable to that?
Yeah, that's
It
fine.
is one, this is a photograph that was used in the ZBA files. It's, if it was brought forward, I don't know, but it wasn't part of Randy's application. But this shows you, here's the tree line of the property line. Then you get back to Paul's barn, and then you get back to a shed and the pool and then Paul's house. You've got a significant distance with this hill to then see what's going on down in this area.
Trees for days.
He's got it, I understand what you're saying, but he also has his is wooded right up to the property line. You guys cleared right to the property line. So all we're trying to do is figure out right now what we would need to put in for some sort of mitigation to satisfy. Yeah, come- yeah. Yeah,
This is our property.
Yeah,
This is
yep.
Mr. Manzione's. So yes, this is our field that we manage. It's like how we currently started.
No.
And then there's all these trees that are here. Some of these are mine, some of them are his. Most of these are mine.
He actually
And
cut some of his
he
down.
left these here. And then this is like, as, you know, he's way up here. So there is trees. There is 300 feet.
At the end of the day, what's it gonna take? Trees up in the top, trees up in the bottom. What are we gonna do to try to get this? But if this goes,
It's not just the trees, it's the type of tree.
yeah, I understand, but I just mean being able to put up something more.
We had actually offered giving up a back portion of our field and planting multiple trees, and the abutter rejected it. We actually, we have offered a fence, he rejected it. Like, I feel like he's already had that chance of a screen, and he's just rejecting it.
Hold on, talking to this.
It's just-
If I could, unfortunately, I think no matter what we did would be an issue. There you could put a Trump wall there, for example, and there would be an issue with the birds sitting on it chirping. You know, the trees are gonna get, who's gonna maintain the trees? Who's, you know, it's, he already talked about the deer eating the trees. Unfortunately, there's nothing, I don't think anybody can do to satisfy.
At the end of the day, it's about what this planning board approves.
Yeah.
And then
We're just
trying to
see it all-
facilitate a way to get this through for your.
Up for ideas.
Okay, all right. I think it's, what do you, Roger? You look like.
I'd like to, John. You know, so I'd like to have Paul come up again and speak.
We can, right, he can do that, yeah. Is a tree line satisfactory?
Yeah, thank you, by the way.
I'm sorry, public input's still open?
No, we closed it, but
So we need a public input.
we gotta
once again.
reopen.
Have to vote to
Well, this was kind of a rebuttal.
So everyone in favor of reopening public?
Aye.
Passes.
Thank you for that. I'm not going to go into the circumstances as to what was offered and why it was rejected. I'm not that fussy. I really do want to see these guys do what they want to do in a way that makes sense. I'm not a bad neighbor. Tree line would be good, a berm with a tree line. If they want to do it up at the top of the property, I would be agreeable to that. I did propose at one point doing it down below, and Ms. Nicastro said, well, then they couldn't see the deer, but that's okay.
So
I'm all
top
right.
side is
So
fine.
top side,
Top side is
fine.
fine.
A berm. And when I say I'm not fussy, we got a lot of deer there lately especially, but when I say something that deer won't eat because I just don't want to waste everybody's time and money, and then all this-
Understandable.
Yeah. And 6 months of the year, it's very visible.
I know what you mean. You
Yeah.
want, yeah.
And I can look
understand.
out my bedroom window and see right down.
I know, we're gonna do
Yeah.
our best, but at the
Right.
end of the day, John, John and Lisa can't be jumping through crazy.
I agree, and it should all be reasonable on both sides. I appreciate the
We're
effort,
trying to facilitate.
and I'm going to be grateful if that happens.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.
Public input again.
Closing public input. Any further
Come on.
comments?
Not, there's, come on up, come on.
If I could, this is just a thought. Why doesn't, if he doesn't like what he sees, why couldn't he just put up his own fence on his property, like a good neighbor fence? Well, he's at a higher,
Why,
No,
we're trying to get it approved for you.
We just want to get your special.
We're just trying to get your
exemption.
special
Yeah.
exemption.
so I was just trying to problem
Yeah.
solve, sorry.
Yeah,
Just trying
no,
to-
you're all right.
Size,
We'll talk about that.
material, and
Yeah, so one question is how big of a berm or how long of,
I don't think anyone was talking about a berm. I think we
We're
were,
just talking about
Trees.
trees, no
Okay.
berm.
okay, trees would take a.
Let's talk about what the buffer should be.
Oh, it's some white pines. I mean,
No,
those
you-
things are bushy and
White pines will go tall very quickly and
that's good.
nothing below. If you're wanting, they become widowmakers. They just go straight up. Widowmakers drop the dead lamb branches up.
Bunch of my yard,
pines are terrible.
Johnny, what'll grow and stay grown in? Obviously, it'll leave some, drop leaves, but what kind of trees are we talking about?
border with arborvitae's, but that one, that's too fast. Oh, do they? Yeah. Are you certain
some
about the-
hemlocks or spruce. How about that? I mean, that should be amenable to everybody, I believe. Because those are fairly bushy.
Now,
hemlock.
how many feet from the property boundary onto his would suffice?
They just have to
Just a buffer,
Buffer.
a buffer row.
15 or 20 feet.
15 or 20 feet of trees.
Just up.
Along
just-
that
Yeah,
line.
just along the line.
There's, okay, you have the barn that blocks. Where's that? The, oh, it's a visual here. That's
15 feet line.
You have the barn.
Yep.
That barn acts as as a block this way. So.
This is 2024.
I'm just using that one because it-
Hold on.
There's so much.
You're wanting it to be from the edge of the barn to roughly the line of this barn?
Exactly. At least that's my thinking. So,
Go ahead, you can talk, go ahead. You're talking to the mic, though.
This is it. I mean, I don't mind putting a buffer in, but it's just, we put a buffer and that's fine and all, but he actually went it upon himself and started cutting some of his buffer a while
don't-
back, you know, so it's like, so we're gonna put a
all we-
buffer up.
all we wanna know- Well, Johnny won't cut the buffer.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, I know what I'm
Anybody
saying
did.
is we put up the buffer, he's not gonna cut it.
It's on your property. I'm sure he will not do that.
Yeah,
For that length, you're talking 6 trees, 8 trees? How many trees?
What's the width of that space? That,
How tall, how big, who's gonna plant for it, who's gonna buy it?
hey, guys.
let's bring some water. Some water, please.
All right, guys, come on.
Okay.
Guys, please.
Conversation.
Hey, Lisa, please.
Only to the
Lisa,
board,
Lisa, please.
please.
Guys, we're trying.
We're trying to find
trying.
common ground to get this done tonight.
Right.
Okay.
It could be as long as 150 feet. That's,
See, where's that map again? Can't be 150 feet.
this one doesn't show.
Looks like it would be about yeah, he's probably right, like 150 feet. It would be like 150 feet.
It just doesn't show the building here. So if you're right off of that line where that angle is, straight back, and you're looking at the barn, which is roughly
Exactly,
this area,
yeah.
that's the height. So whatever that means, and that becomes inches
50 feet.
My opinion would be the barn width and 10 to 15 feet on either side.
Why don't we just say a buffer?
Do you know what I mean?
75 feet.
75 feet, the barn, and to either side. So he can stand at the back of his barn, all he sees is trees. We're trying not to make it too big, too long. Just to block from his barn so he can stand at his barn and not see anything. Yep, wherever the barn falls. On either side. That seems like
reasonable to me.
Seems like a reasonable amount. Roger? Where's the big, oh, we're working on it. Where?
Who's buying it?
Manzioni, yeah.
Doesn't matter if we don't have.
We don't have that. I mean, it's back here someplace.
Got all those trees.
I know.
So we're gonna put.
Pretty much buffers.
Is that just a block where the barn is so he can't see?
15 feet isn't much, I mean.
The barn's pretty.
This was several years ago. This is a 24.
We're in your house.
Shows
We couldn't
four
see
trees.
the kitchen window.
That's the barn. So it oriented.
So same, it does the same thing.
I can't
But
believe
you
it.
got-
So those are there now. But if you put some kind of hemlocks or spruce vegetables.
Well, what they're.
Just put it in here. Understood, but we're trying to get something to get this thing.
If it works or not.
That's, it's only do what the board is requesting. So a mixture of hemlock and spruce across 75 feet.
Do you want it including the barn from the edge of the barn? Same 75 feet.
Just on your property, I would say.
Mr. Manzioni, how wide is your barn? 40?
40.
So 50, 60, 70 feet, 75 feet, right? Roger? That's where we want it. From the barn, 15 feet, 15 feet. That's it, 75 foot total.
I mean, hopefully we don't have to get to a landscape plan.
Yeah, I don't think we need to take it that far. The barn and then 75 feet. So it's gonna be a 75-foot line that slides either way as long as the barn's in the middle. Is this? Listen, at the property line. You're looking at the barn, right here. See his
Can I
barn?
just call for point of order?
What do you need?
Please,
Excuse me? Excuse me?
one discussion at a time, please.
The back of, right here, this barn, right? We're gonna put that right here at the property line. You're gonna go 75-foot total, put the barn in the middle.
Excuse me. There's a
Excuse
conversation
me,
going on
one,
at the table, and the recording isn't gonna get recorded. And when the minute taker tries to take these minutes,
It's gonna be a mess.
it's gonna be nothing. So if people can just one at a time, please, it makes it very difficult to transcribe the minutes.
Here's what we got. Is this acceptable to you guys for 75 feet? Is it acceptable? Go ahead.
Say my name again.
No.
Would it be more acceptable? You have the barn, you have trees. What if we did like 30 feet to one side of the barn that's like in front of his house?
It's gonna be, we're trying to get it 75 feet. It's gotta put the barn in the middle. You can slide that line whichever way you want. It's gotta be 75 feet with the barn included. Just so that if he stood on the roof of his barn, that he's gonna see those trees. I don't care if they're lower than his barn, but that's what he would see. Is that acceptable to you guys?
Sure.
Is it? Okay.
I,
John?
yeah.
How tall are the trees?
again, they can be new plantings, 4, 6 feet, something like that.
Just,
Okay, I just want to be with.
so they grow, so they will eventually grow up to be, as tall as a normal what's a normal hemlock tree? 75, 100 feet, whatever they are. It takes forever for them to mature.
Right. So 75 feet total, starting and including the barn.
Yep. Height of trees to be put in no less than,
All right, so I'm
what,
Do they have to go in front of the barn? Like the trees have to go in front of the barn?
the barn? No. It's gonna be, the barn is 40 feet. It's gonna be a 75-foot total. So I'm just using the barn as 40 feet just so that that buffer of trees falls within where the barn is. So he can't see past the tree. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So he's got to put up 75 feet of trees.
Yes.
And whether it's 50 feet on this left of the barn and then.
It's, as long as the barn, as long as those trees are blocking that barn.
That's, yeah,
I
it'll,
understand what you want.
Yep.
4-foot trees, 4 to 6, whatever.
4 to 6 foot
they're
trees.
With
One,
no
just-
berm.
No berm needed, nothing like that.
How many ever trees? It's not gonna be new tree to new tree.
No.
They're gonna have whatever their.
Whatever the acceptable root length would be for a normal tree of that size.
I just want to clarify though that these trees are going to go in, even when they grow. He's still going to see things from his windows. But I just wanted that on record, that he, it's, they're
Trying
going to go
get it-
in. Okay, so I just wanted on record that they're in. He still sees them from a window, they're in. Okay.
Abutting-
Yeah, it's windows. Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay? Is this acceptable?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Good.
it. We gotta record that as a condition
Condition precedent.
precedent.
That.
Thank you all parties involved. Everybody good? Okay.
That plus the driveway.
Yes, and big driveway permit.
How
Not
long do
you.
you have to plant these trees? Is there a stipulation on that?
So we don't know how many trees, just 75 feet.
75
the
feet of
root-
trees.
15 trees. I mean, you give them,
Yeah, give them room to grow. That's all. What will, in a couple of years, will turn into a big buffer.
use, again, hemlock, spruce, conifer type.
Evergreen, something that'll grow up for him. Okay? And then time frame. I mean, he has, I would think,
This is no site disturbance, so
what's acceptable, 6 months? Can you get it done by fall?
get it done by fall.
Can you?
What
That's for,
threshold are you talking about?
that's gonna be for condition precedent. We're adding that 75-foot tree buffer to be installed on, that's the, which corner is that? Technically, which corner is that?
So most directly north.
Most directly north from where the adjacent property is. And that's gonna, he has 6 months to install the tree berm.
Well, we can,
Make
Trees,
a motion.
I will do that. In there, it says the
Wait.
initial trees will be
Yep,
between 4 and
please.
6 feet.
Just to clarify on the DOT, you're looking for confirmation from DOT
Yes.
that their
They have no issues with the driveway.
March 22nd letter
Yes.
means that the existing contractor's yard
Or
is allowed.
existing contractors.
Yeah, it's a letter.
Letter confirming.
That it's a contractor's yard, not that it's
Okay, and the stipulation, the condition precedent is gonna be 6 months, 4 to 6 feet height in the beginning, and 75 feet, okay? All right,
And that can go like top of the barn.
as long as it blocks that barn view. Yes, if you're standing at the back of the barn, he looks at the trees.
It'll be starting here, going 75 feet, or starting wherever and going 15 feet each side.
My question was just the right of way that's right there. I
Right,
didn't-
you're not blocking that.
Is that okay?
I didn't put the right of way.
No, that's fine.
Okay,
All right?
so, here we go. This is just a motion to accept it as complete, correct? Not complete.
Right. So you would
Yeah.
be approving it.
All right. I make a motion, we approve case number P25-15 with conditions subsequent and present, including the amended condition requiring there to be a 75-foot tree buffer at the farthest end of the property that the abutter will see, 75 feet long with beginning trees to be between 4 and 6 feet in height. And he has 6 months to comply.
Plus the driveway.
Plus, and as another condition would be that we get a document, letter from the state, just saying that they're okay with the driveway as is, or they want you to apply for a permit for having the contractor yard. But we need some confirmation from DOT.
We have a second.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you very much for your patience. May I ask a protocol question? Do we need Randy to add the 75 feet to a site plan?
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will.
Good answer.
Will, if you ask him.
Randy, would you mind doing that? Thank you, sir. Hopefully, hopefully this will facilitate you guys to get back to the way it was. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry.
Thank you. Good evening. Okay, moving on.
You are doing really good.
Oh, yeah, living a dream. Okay, case P2516, a lot line adjustment for James and Jennifer Whaley.
Hey, Paul.
Trackside Road and, again, as far as the lot line. This was accepted as complete, right?
Nope.
No?
No, you guys haven't looked at it.
Oh, it is? It is. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. All right.
I'll make a motion, we approve case P25-16 as complete. We can talk about it.
Second,
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye. What's the
Ooh.
plan, Paul?
What's that?
I said, what's the plan?
Name's Paul Zusko, representing the Walleys and Flannery. The Walleys own lot 33, and it's currently 0.4 9 acres, half an acre, non-conforming to the zone. One, it's 30,000 square feet, this is 21. He's gonna add 54,000 square feet. He's gonna purchase from Flannery and make that lot 1.24 acres. So just make him non-conforming lot conforming so that he can build a garage and apartment above it.
So it's actually a sales transaction to get to the.
He's gonna
conforming.
purchase parcel A, yeah.
Okay.
So that piece right behind it.
And the sale is contingent on this approval, I take it? The sale is contingent on this approval
Yeah.
here?
Keeps Flannery's lot above 5 acres too, so we don't need state involved in this at all.
What happened to the wetlands buffer between those two blue lines?
The buffer,
Yeah, where does that line go? It looks like there's, what, 25-ish feet missing somewhere?
that buffer is 25 feet, I did not put it on here.
So those two blue lines just connect?
That is the edge of the wet.
Okay.
I can add those buffers if you like.
It just wasn't on there. I didn't know where it went to.
And as far as a driveway to go over that,
He's already hired Stephanie Richards to do wetland crossing for a driveway. And he'll need a shoreline permit for some of that driveway too. So she's working on that also.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
please.
So you noted that subdivision approval wasn't needed for the larger lot, but what about the lot 33?
Making it bigger. The only time you need state subdivision approval is if you're making a lot under 5 acres smaller. If you're making a lot that size and making it bigger, you don't need state subdivision approval.
Okay. Thank you.
It's fairly steep slope on the front of that parcel.
You see the red hatched areas?
Yep.
Those are your 25% slope.
25% grade, yeah.
So it's not that much. You're not going to be in that 25% slope with the driveway.
Yeah.
I'm lost.
You're what?
You lost?
Yeah, well, supposedly Flannery is giving up some land.
Yep.
Okay, so I see Flannery.
So right here. This is Wally's lot, okay?
This one right here.
That's the way the lot is now.
It's gonna buy this.
And then see this piece
So is
behind
this-
it
is
that says
this land
parcel
here-
A?
This top one is Flannery's now?
This is Flannery right here.
Yep.
And they're buying.
Oh, because that's,
That big wetland separates his land in the back right here. This one here, that separates Flannery's land.
0.75.
Here. So he's given up something that he really can't access anyway.
okay, oh, so all of this land is Flannery.
Yes.
Okay.
They
Because I
will
saw
acquire
pool.
this
I guess that's that.
as now this would be one big lot.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, actually, I just noted on the topo plan, and I see maybe why that Roger was a little confused. Parcel A is listed as lot 33. And then lot 33 doesn't have any indication on what it is.
This is
And then
lot
he's-
33, right?
Right, but he's got that listed up here. So if you look at this and this, it's different. I was just referring, so that's listed as parcel A and that's listed as lot 33.
That's gonna be 33.
But it's not.
3, and I'm giving you the existing area of 33, which is 0.49. Then the proposed area is gonna be 1.24. So this will be lot 33 after the boundary line adjustment. Move this down, right?
I think it's just a visual thing, yeah. Yes, please.
Because basically it's shown on the subdivision plan correctly the way.
Right, it's just
This-
opposite on this plan, that's why.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing that confused me is you were talking about shoreland.
Your head's spinning.
Water.
To get over it.
These small lots here.
Yeah. So the 250 is gonna fall right in there, and they're gonna need that shoreline permit for that drive.
Go for the driveway.
Probably just a permit, if it's under a certain square footage. You won't need it for the garage, just the driveway,
Just for the driveway.
but you'll need a wetland crossing too for the driveway.
Mhm.
Which both are being done by Stephanie.
Any other questions? Jesse, you look like you're struggling.
Just making sure that we caught everything. I'm fine.
Christine, Roger, okay? Good.
Pretty straight up.
Looks like it to me. Get a motion?
Public input?
Any public input?
Sweet. I make a motion, oh, there we go. I make a motion, we approve case number P25-16
With condition.
with conditions subsequent and precedent.
A second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
So
Yep.
moved.
Gonna make a hockey game.
Okay. Case P2517.
It looks like
That
that's
one
you, I
standing.
guess.
So subdivision into two lots of record. One of 20.69 acres and the other of 8.02.
I think you have an older,
Oh, that's the old, you're right.
Yep.
You're correct. Yeah. Yep. Capiche, okay.
Got it.
it's, the new lot will be 7.88 acres. The existing land, I think 20.69 left over.
Yeah.
You're just squaring up that corner, correct?
So
Correct. Yep. Obviously, representing Michael and Carol Letourneau, they just want to subdivide off one lot, road frontage for their daughter.
So the first thing is to see if the submission is complete.
So
So, Mr. Chair, as you can see, there are some ends.
yeah.
Yeah, so we'll
Indicated,
get
but
soil
they're-
report.
Yeah, there are waivers for that.
Yep, soil.
The only waiver that isn't requested, was for that driveway site distance analysis.
Yep. Which now not needed, right?
There's an existing gravel drive.
Right. Okay, can I have a motion for
I'll
complete?
make a motion, we approve case number P25-17 as complete.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. As far as the waivers.
So, Mr. Chair, there were waivers that were submitted. And then on page 4, I have a few potential waivers. And that's just, that stems from my review of the checklist. So those are some checklist items that I wasn't able to check off.
So these are the ones you're referring to as,
The potential items needing a
So-
waiver
yeah.
that are not shown on the plan. Yes.
okay. And those aren't reflected on the,
On the plans.
revised plan.
On the ones that are listed on page 4.
Okay.
Have you seen these areas of concern yet?
No, I have not.
Okay. So we're looking for,
Receiver? Plan review? That's what
I,
you're
just
looking
the, voicemail you left the other night.
at. I emailed.
You are emailed, yeah, you called and emailed, I think.
Okay.
Yep. And that's when I adjusted the lot line.
could I just read down through these?
It's just those three we're
Those
talking.
three,
It
yep.
is.
Yeah. Yeah, go, I mean, for his edification, it'd be beneficial too.
All right.
Yes, please.
So potential items needing a waiver that are not shown on this plan. Section 7, D, period 1, period G. A complete boundary survey showing meets and bounds of the entire contiguous parcel. Whether or not all land therein is to be subdivided is missing from proposed Lot 1.
That's sheet 1 and 2 is the complete boundary. There's a match line showing the entire parcel.
Lot 1. I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
confused
so
my
lot
sheet.
1 and 2 comprise the entire
Did you see this?
parcel.
Okay.
Okay. Second, section 7D, period 1, period G, subsection G, I'm sorry. Show the minimum contiguous upland area required by the zoning ordinance for each lot, excluding jurisdictional wetlands in areas with slopes in excess of 25%. Identify the minimum contiguous upland area in acres for each lot.
That is shown in note 6, I believe. 6 or, yeah, note 7.
So, Mr. Chair, so the reason why this is listed on here is this stems from an application that was before you, the last several meetings, to where you had asked the applicant to show the contiguous areas on the lot itself and along with the note. So there's the note, but
And then
show
the
that
actual-
Contiguous building area.
rectangle
Okay.
on the lot.
On the
So
lot.
that's why that's listed over here, just to be consistent with other applications that you required the same information.
Okay. So can you accommodate that and reflect?
I'm not sure how I would show that in
I was gonna say, it's
differently
look-
than what I have. The topographic plan shows the 25% slopes. Those are the shaded areas.
Do you know what I'm referring to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the shaded areas are the 25% slopes.
Greater than 25% slopes, and then obviously the wetlands are shown with the setbacks on as well.
But I think the issue is the
So we took a
minimum
total
contiguous
area.
upland.
It's to show, because it. the-
I'm just trying to think how you do
ranges Show, the show area, so show that buildable area.
The setbacks are on there.
Hold on.
But to reflect that minimum contiguous upland area is what's, somehow you need to capture that.
You're
In
talking
the, in the,
which section? He's talking the contiguous on this plan, right?
right.
Okay.
Right.
All right, I just making sure I'm in the right
Yep.
spot.
Question to clarify?
Yeah.
What is the minimum contiguous area? Because I'm showing where the slopes don't exist, and I've shown the setbacks on the plan. So any place that doesn't have the 25% slope or a setback to the wetlands or the sidelines would be considered buildable area.
Upland area.
I see.
I would assume, what is the break, I don't know if you could even do that. What would the breakdown would
So-
be?
We had 2.5 acres of land out of that 7.88 that were either wetlands or 25% slope.
Buildable.
So we were down to over 5 acres. I can't read the small writing on my small prints.
It's terrible.
But there was well over 5 acres of buildable land on the lot 2 that is gonna be the lot that they're gonna be building on.
Okay.
Yep.
And you did not give us any copies of soil maps, correct? Oh, no.
The soils are on, they kind of faded back on this. I think on the larger scale, the soils are on the topo map for the large scale plans, but they're kind of faded back on these small copies.
How would you do that, Doug?
I don't know, that's what I'm thinking, I mean, because there's, so,
It would just be the.
But we don't
percentage.
need to provide a septic design at this time because it's over 5 acres, so it doesn't need state subdivision approval.
Don't
So
confuse it even more. Let us work through
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Don't
It
confuse
shows
it more.
the-
Let us work through this.
maybe there's just a state.
If you guys are fine with how it's presented, then he could just ask for a waiver. But there was an application that was just
Yep.
before you had,
Denied, yeah.
where they came in and they put rectangles over here and went, that's where I can build. Because the issue was, some
Yeah,
of that was in the setback. So I'm just trying,
Be consistent.
just trying to
I
be
understand.
consistent.
Yep. So to satisfy that, we would need total contiguous acreage of 2, correct? It has to have 2 acre minimum building. Yes? Or did I just make it worse? I think I might have just made it worse. Sorry. Greater than the square feet that is.
He just puts,
If we take the totality of that number, deduct this number, that gives us the buildable lot, correct?
right again.
We take this number,
Yeah.
the square footage of the entire lot, right? We take this number, correct? And we deduct them. We deduct this number from this number, that'll give us the amount that is buildable,
The
correct?
contiguous area.
Yes. Does that make sense? Okay, so what we would like you to do on the plan, on the new plan, is I'd like you to take on the, just use this one for now, okay? The lot square footage is the 349,215. We agree, yes?
Yep.
Okay, the amount that is unbuildable is the 110,907, correct?
Correct.
So we're gonna take that 349,215, deduct the 110,907, and we would like you to note it on the plan that that is the amount of contiguous
Just put contiguous.
buildable.
Leave it in the note, but just put
No, put it
unbuildable.
on the plan.
You
Put it on the
on the
actual
plan,
physical
please.
plan. Just put it under the proposed lot 2 area.
Yes, if you could.
Add the note.
Thank you.
In over here, even though
That'll
it's
keep
in
us
and
out
out.
of trouble.
Yeah,
Thank you.
gotta cross Ts and dot Is, buddy.
And you only need that on the topographic plan?
I would like that on, do we need that on all plans or just topo?
I would put it on
Because these are gonna end up getting recorded, so that's.
I would put it on all 3 of
the
them.
plan.
Could you do it on all of them? Would you mind? Is that all right?
I wanna make sure that
Yeah,
I'm doing
we'll
it.
put it on all of them just to cover.
Yep.
And the last one,
Soils map.
yeah, the soy, so section 7E period 2 period H period sub 3, whatever that is. Copies of soils maps as required by section as follows. 2 paper copies of the full-scale plans and 10 legible paper copies of the reduced scale plan, the 11 by 17s.
Okay, we need a motion for,
Is that 2 different things?
This is one, I think it's one section, but it's just having the 2 sets of plans, like the 2 large ones and the 10 small ones. Right?
So it's this That one's specific to the soils map.
Yeah, to the soils map one.
Yes.
So you
Okay.
just need the soils, did the soils show up on the large scale? Because I can see them on this, but they're just very faded. I'll just change the line type so that they show.
Anything on the topo map?
Here's your different soils types.
Did you list what the soil is? Is that somewhere?
Yeah, whatever that is.
Yep. And yes. And yes.
There we go. See? It's just that easy, buddy.
Okay.
So we satisfied those.
I apologize. This has been an extremely difficult month for us in the office.
Thank you for your patience.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm new to this as well, too.
So the only one we need a waiver for is section 7D1. G.
Yeah, the contiguous, that was the one, yep, that was the one we
Can I have a
discussed.
motion for the waiver
So moved.
and a second.
I'll say.
Approved,
Yes.
everyone?
Aye.
Okay, waiver granted. So just, you had a lot of outstanding issues here.
So they've actually submitted waivers if you go to page 3, so there are more waivers. We're not done yet.
Oh,
Yep, so on page 3, they've
okay.
submitted
Yeah,
5.
got it.
And these were all acceptable. Correct?
We didn't discuss these though, I mean,
So actually, the first one, this is how tough this month has been. The first one
we
is
just,
actually the
On the other
second one.
page.
yeah, so that one we addressed, I'm reading that and saying, that one's
This
okay.
is terrible.
But the next one, the shoreline protection overlay was set, the 50-foot shoreline setbacks, we didn't talk about that, right?
There's
You're
no
looking for a
shoreline.
waiver on
There's no
that?
shoreland.
So, okay, so it does not apply, right?
Yeah, I thought I had that as NA, but maybe I,
Soils, we just talked about that, right?
Yep.
Driveway profiles, cross sections,
Proposed driveways and
there's already,
waivers.
there's an existing
we're
driveway
pressing because
entrance. We're
there's no
not doing an
plans for a-
engineering plan.
For a house,
Yes.
okay. And again, the driveway sightline distance in the revised plan, we don't need to discuss that now, right? We have. Right.
Yeah.
There is a driveway, existing driveway shown.
So it's only the
that little
waiver
gravel
for the
drive.
driveway profile and cross section that there's a waiver. Right?
What's in face?
We looking at Jessica here, Jesse.
I'm sorry, I'm just still stuck on the soils. Where did you get the soils information from?
Downloaded it from New Hampshire Granite.
Okay. And I'm sorry, you were waiting for me for what?
Well, I'm just seeing if there's anything else we're missing. I think the only one we need a waiver on is the driveway profile and cross section. Well, because there's no,
Yeah, there's
Oh,
nothing in
yeah,
there yet.
well,
Just that.
that
gravel
waiver request, I guess you don't need a waiver for at this point then.
Well, it's part of the application, so
Thank
that's why
you.
I submitted
Right.
it's an item on there, so I assumed I had to request a waiver for it, even though there's no design at this time.
So that one just did an NA?
I guess they're all in. The other ones have been addressed then, basically.
They have, I guess they're all
We
in,
can-
basically.
So there are no additional waivers required.
Yeah, the wording I struggled with, like, okay, it's part of you're requesting it,
Yeah.
we're not designing anything at this time.
We've all got to change and adapt with the times.
Plan review, outstanding issues.
Do you need me to approve the waivers?
We did though,
We
because
did,
there's
we
only
did.
there's
You're
the
right.
one that we did previously.
I'm losing my mind.
Plan does not indicate if the property is in current use or not.
Yeah, there's a whole sort of variety of items that I had noticed that were not indicated on the plan. It's within this planner review.
Okay.
You have not seen this, correct, right?
Oh,
Here, you can give him, give him that one. Okay. So we're on page 4.
One item on this plan review that the reason I didn't do 3 sheets is
Yep.
because I do not want to record the topographic plan. If I do a set of 3, then we have to record the topographic sheet as well. That's why I did the subdivision plan as sheet 1 and 2, and the topographic plan as sheet 3.
Yeah.
I mean, as a separate sheet.
I have actually had this discussion with the prior engineer that was here, because they had run into issues in other counties with the, pages
Recording.
1 of 2, 1 of 3. So Belknap County apparently doesn't have issues like other counties. When you submit and record a plan that says, 3 sheets, but you're only submitting 2.
Okay.
Because we require a note to be added on the plan that states how many sheets in total.
Okay.
I
Well,
don't know
that's
if
an easy
Belknap
fix.
County, if that appeases them, by not having to change the sheet numbers, but we've never had an issue,
Okay.
so just want to throw that out there.
It's on there. Yeah, does say that it's better than 1 part in 10,000. Note 3.
There's a lot. of these.
project narrative.
Yep. Yeah, all that stuff's missing.
So the last one on the first page, a complete boundary survey showing meets and bounds, that is a complete boundary survey.
Yep, and then, yeah, there are some things that we could already check up.
Is on there. Doesn't talk about that.
What'd you say, Rhonda?
Isn't the project narrative part of the application?
I think so.
I mean, it's the project overview is fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Address of landowners, you want their home address put on there? Because they live across the street, not on this lot, and this lot does not have a street address. It's only listed as old land on Old Wolfboro Road in the,
Yeah, usually the plans contain the owner's actual physical address, like their
Right.
mailing address.
It is, this discussion of driveways, none of this is applicable at this point, right? Or the driveway permit that we came up with the highway department.
Yeah, they haven't even done it yet, looks like.
That was just their input on their review.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
Do you have any questions fixing those items?
I think I understand everything else on here.
What was the, the whole ZBA thing and the property line got moved, which made that null and void, right?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
And they didn't go to the ZBA?
Well,
They just moved the line.
they just moved the
Yeah,
line.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what's confusing about the,
solved that problem.
Yeah, I did not see where it had to have 200 feet on both roads. I saw 200 feet of road frontage,
Yeah.
not 200 feet on both roads.
Yep,
Really?
yeah. So,
Never seen that in the regs before.
Why do you have to have 200 feet on both roads?
Yeah.
in the rural zone, if you're a corner lot, you have to have 200 feet of frontage on each side.
Didn't know that. When did that become?
Yeah,
Oh,
I didn't read it that way, but
I mean, I could look it up.
Forever.
Yeah, it's been there for.
that doesn't make a difference for this lot for what we're doing,
Been
but
there
I just
for
didn't,
24
I
years.
didn't take that as that.
and there's no immediate intent to build on this property?
They're going to shortly be doing a house, but
Okay.
I'm not sure what their timing is. The larger lot there is no intention to build on the larger lot.
So,
Want to make a motion for the application?
All right, if you guys see no more issues with it?
I would open it up to the public first.
Oh, yeah.
I have a failure. We don't see one in the public. Any public input? Closed. All right, Nick, go ahead.
I will make a motion, we approve case number P 25-17 with conditions subsequent and precedent.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Application approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any old business?
You too?
Well,
Thanks for being
thank you.
patient. Try sitting up here and doing it. You too.
No old business?
No old business?
No new business.
Okay, approval of the minutes. I was not here, so I can't provide any input to this. Any changes or corrections?
Honestly, I did not have experience. That I did not do.
I did notice there was one where the name was, on page 2 was missing. Director of the Lakes Regional Planning Commission? Question mark.
Shanna, I know her last name. I'll have to look it up. in
All right.
the office. I can add that in there.
Any other changes?
I'll make a motion, we approve the Tuesday, May 20th, 2025, planning board meeting minutes as amended.
A second?
Second.
All in favor? Approved.
Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
just want to note, that our minute taker has resigned.
I saw that.
Yeah.
So what is that?
Yeah,
imply?
so we found a new minute taker and, we're trying to figure out if that's gonna be a good fit before they get hired.
In other words, whether they're qualified or not?
So depends on,
How well they're admitted.
quality, yeah, quality of work.
They're gonna have fun with
Yeah,
this
they
one.
do.
So,
Does that mean there's some reservations? It sounds like it. Okay, duly noted.
They're gonna have fun deciphering tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah, really. Any correspondence for review or information? No. On state permit applications?
nothing?
Nothing. Any other business to come before the board? None? And public input on non-specific planning issues? No public here? Adjournment. Can I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor? Duly done. John Goodrich wanted